All right. Well, hey everybody, Grim Green from grimgreen.com back here today. Thank you so much for joining me. I guess this is going to be a Monday triple feature. One of the things that I wanted to do is, if you've watched any of my videos throughout the last 6 years, you know I'm not a builder guy. In fact, I got into the rebuilding game a little bit later than everybody else. But one thing that I do really like is simple, quick, and effective coil builds. And I did that simple, quick, and effective coil build. And that's still, I stand by that. I love that build. I use it all the time. But what I wanted to show you guys was the magic of Clapton coils. And there's 1,000 Clapton coil videos out there from a lot of YouTubers out there. In fact, Squid Dude just uploaded a video to his YouTube, The Art of Vaping, that's going to be very similar to this, but I wanted to explain it in kind of a different way, in a way that I would want it explained to me. So we're going to be building some fused Claptons, and trust me when I say that if I can do this, literally you or anybody else can do this. You just have to trust me. So what we're going to be doing is using swivels. That's right, swivels. Now you can buy swivels, fishing swivels, online from Amazon or Harbor Freight, from anywhere from like $5 to $8. Get the good ones with the ball bearings in them. It's really going to help. Now, I'm not a builder guy, which I kind of just stated, but I really love using fused Claptons. And up until this point, all the fused Claptons that I were using were other people's builds in my RDAs. I still have the El Cabron RDA in my desk with Twisted Mess's original fused Clapton on it, and I loved it. I loved it so much. So I decided it came to the time when I had to do this for myself. I needed to stop relying on other people to put cool builds in my RDAs, and I wanted to learn how to do it myself. So both Homeboy OC and M-Turk kind of gave me a crash course in how to do really nice, simple, and quick fused Claptons. So hopefully that's what I'm going to be showing you today. So when you get your swivels, now these are my swivels. Here's what I did. This is the M-Turk method. All I did was I went to Home Depot and I bought a chunk of wood. This was like $2, right? And then I screwed the swivel down to this piece of wood, and then I bought a clamp so that I can set this little station up, build some fused Claptons, and take it down and store it somewhere. So all I do is I clamp this to my desk, but I just have a screw. It's a little screw sticking out right there, a little wood screw, and then I just clip this little swivel right to that screw. And I have 2 in a row, and these are both of the ball bearing variety of swivels. And I like having 2 or maybe even 3 in a row, just because if one seizes up or fails on you, the others will keep turning and it won't completely mess up your build. So let's start from the beginning. I'm going to clamp this down to my desk, and I'm going to have to do some fancy editing and fancy camera adjusting, but I promise we're going to get through this as quick as we can. So yeah, I apologize if my audio sounds wonky, but we're going to take our board that we have the swivels attached to, just our big chunk of wood. I'm going to take my clamp and I'm going to clamp it right to my desk. I'm going to make sure it just needs to be secure enough. It doesn't need to be cranked down, so that when you're putting tension on these swivels right here, when you're pulling on them, your base isn't gonna move anywhere. Yeah, that feels nice and secure. We got that clamped down. Good. Oh, hi down there. So we're gonna be using some 26 gauge anarchist wire as our core, and we're going to be using 2, which makes it what I believe to be a fused Clapton when you have 2 cores in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull off about 1 foot. I'm just going to eyeball this. I'm going to pull out some 26 gauge anarchist wire, about a foot of it. And it doesn't matter really at this point if you're making accidental bends, or if your wire's coming off and it kind of looks a little bit haggard like that. That's okay. No, yeah, that's about a foot. That's about a foot just right there. So I'm going to cut it, and then we're going to straighten it. So you can see my anarchist wire here. It's all messed up. There's kinks in it. It's all bendy and weird. And what we're going to do is we're going to straighten it. It's going to be super easy to straighten with the drill. Different people use different techniques. This is just how I was shown to do it. I'm going to take one end like this, and I'm just going to put a slight little bend in it. You see that bend right there? Then we're going to put that in the chuck of our drill. So yeah, that's why we put the little bend in it, just so the chuck of the drill can hold it just a little bit better. And I'm going to take the other end and put it in my my pliers right there. Hold it nice and tight, and just spin it a little bit. That's absolutely enough. So when I let go of this, it's going to be, oh, look at that. Just a nice straight piece of Anarchist 26 gauge, nice and straight, no more kinks, just beautiful, just perfect for building. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the two ends together so that there's a loop on this side. I'm going to bend the other one just the exact same way, and we're going to put these right into the chuck of our drill. Just like that, you see that? There's two leads going into the chuck of the drill, and then if you go down the wire, it's going to end in a little loop right here. Perfect, right? Not bad. So then we're going to take a screwdriver and just straighten this out real fast. And literally all you have to do, I'm not even using a screwdriver, I'm using this little build tool, is I put this in the hoop and I just give it a pull, just like that. Make sure they're nice and flat, just give it a pull. That's all you need to do to straighten it out. And then you take this hoopy part right here, this hoopy part that we just straightened out, and you attach it to your swivel. So what you're going to do is you're going to lay your drill down on its side and you're going to pull it away from the swivel. And then you're going to attach this little hook right here to that little hook on the swivel. Then you push your drill farther away and keep it nice and tight. You don't want any slack in this. You kind of want to push your drill. See how it's bouncy and it's like a guitar string now? You want to keep some pressure on your drill. Pull it away from the swivel, away from the swivel. And that's because we're putting that tension on there. That's why we need a nice block to hold our swivels down to make sure that this doesn't move, because we need this to be nice and tight and tense the entire time. So this part's going to be a little bit difficult to see just because of camera limitations, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 36 gauge Niachrome from Kidney Puncher. I'm going to find the end of it right here. And what I'm going to do, is not let go of it. You have to keep holding this tight. You have to keep holding this tight. So I have my little end of Niachrome there. So what I'm going to do is over here on my drill side, which hopefully you can see. No, you can't see it, which hopefully you can see. This Niachrome goes under, right? And then all I do is I grab a pair of tweezers and I wrap it around one of those little pokey outy things that we made, the little bend in the 26 gauge. I just wrap it around there a bunch. And then what you can do is just start your drill up, just go slow. Whoops, I'm going the wrong way. Just go slow and just get a few wraps on there just to get your Niachrome started on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand up, because this is just easier for me when I stand up and I can put pressure on my drill. Is I make sure my drill is pulled tight like this. Just pull it tight, and then I'm going to let some of this Niachrome 80 out, and all you have to do is adjust the pressure of how tight you're gripping this spool right here. And you'll see when it comes together well, and you'll see when it comes together not as well. But what you want to do is maintain quite a bit of pressure on this spool, and it's just going to feed off of this spool and onto your wire. As long as you're holding your drill tight away from the swivels and you're holding your spool of Niachrome tight, and you want to kind of keep it like right at a 90-degree angle. Don't go up or down like this, and don't go side to side like this. Keep it flat, keep it at a 90-degree angle. Pull your drill tight, and then start going. And once it starts going, you can just let your drill go full speed, and you'll end up with a great coil. So I'm going to start off slow. Then just go full speed. And if you need to pause at any point, you can pause. Just keep that tension on the wire. Keep the tension on your drill. This is all about tension. Keep gripping it, and you can just start up again. And when I get down to the bottom, it's going to get down to the bottom, and I'm going to let it double back just a little bit on itself to kind of, end that wire. Pressure on the drill, pressure on your spool, start it up again. So I got down there to the end, I let it go up a little bit, pulled it back just to double back on itself. So what you do is you wrap up the rest of your nichrome, you take your clippers, and you cut this as close to the wire as you possibly can. And then obviously you're going to want to set this aside for safekeeping so it doesn't completely unspool on you. And then you can take your clippers and kind of cut this loop right here. That releases the wire. So you do the same thing on the top. You just unscrew the chuck, your wires come out, and they don't look pretty down here. So you go down a couple of millimeters, cut that off, and all you're left with is just wonderful Clapton wire. And I'll try to get you a close-up of what I just did. But yeah, that's all you're left with is just wonderful Clapton wire. And when you look at it, you're going to notice that there's some kind of some bends in it. You're going to see where the cores didn't quite stay together. Do you see how if I turn it, you can kind of see it shimmering, you can kind of see those bends. All I ever do, people use, Teflon coated pliers. All I ever use is my fingers just to straighten some of that stuff out. And it'll actually straighten itself out a little bit when you start building with it. But all I do is I go through with my fingers, keep those straight, so you get a nice, flat, clean Clapton coil. And I know that when you're watching this on video, here we get down here to the end, we're going to have to do some more straightening. You can't really appreciate it. I'm going to try to get as up close as I possibly can so you can see how this looks. That's about as uppy, closey as I can possibly get. You can see that 38 gauge wrapped very, very tightly around a dual 26 gauge core. But yeah, that's what you're going for. That's what you want. See those nice tight coils in there? It's nice and tightly wrapped around. You're not quite in the home stretch yet. You still have to wrap some coils and actually install it. So we're going to be throwing this on the Nixon RDA, which I haven't even tried out. But the reason I want to throw it on here is because it has the 4 post holes, and those post holes look just big enough for the Clapton wire that I made. One tool that I actually use quite a bit now is this little jobber right here that shows you 3.5, 3, 2.5, 2, 1.5, and those coincide with the different steps right here. So I'm going to go to this one, which is the 2.5 millimeter right here. That's what we're going to be wrapping our coil around. And you wrap it much differently than you would just a straight round wire. One thing you can do is just knock out a bunch of Clapton at once. This, I only did a short little part of it because I was just doing a dual coil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip this in half for my dual coils. So all I'm going to do, again, find my 2.5 millimeter. What I'm going to do is hold my finger over the flat part of the Clapton. You want it laying flat against right there, and then I'm just gonna do probably a 6 wrap on here. So I'm gonna start it up like this. To get it going, I just use my thumb like that. I just pull the wire with my finger and with my thumb to get it started. So that's 2. So you end up with something like that, a 6 wrap Clapton. And as you can see, we've got wire left over. We might even be able to knock another single coil out of there. But one thing that I like to do, especially with Claptons, is I move that 6th wrap so it's kind of like at a perpendicular angle like that. One going up, one going down, and then I take this one that's headed off in the opposite direction, and I just use my fingernails and I kind of bend it like that, just so they're facing the same direction. It's much easier later when you're doing the install, just like that. It's going to work great. So I got my 2 Claptons, and now we're going to put it on this Nixon RDA right here. So I'm just going to grab the first one, and I'm going to use this tool again, which I used to not be a big fan of, but now I actually really like it. Now this isn't like a regular coil. They're serrated, you know what I mean? You have that Claptonness on there, so fitting them through the post holes, it's going to be a little bit of a wiggling, sort of wiggling dance, side to side, up and down. You just want to get them in there good, and it's textured, so you're going to hear that, textury record player type sound. But we'll get these in here. Pretty much just like that. This is a bit different. I'm positioning the coils right over the airflow. I'm not going to do like a center post build. The Nixon has airflow, kind of like the Kennedy, that comes up through the bottom. So I want to position my coil just like that, like right over that airflow hole. So once you get your coil in there, obviously, yeah, you tighten down the screws and then you clip these leads off. And then I'm going to show you a quick little trick for an easy way to get your second coil on there. Normally you'd be putting in your other coil like this, but you see that lead coming out of the center post? That's going to be hitting your other coil. So what I like to do, especially with builds like this, is I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm just going to see where I want my coil to be, and I'm going to pre-cut that lead that's going to go through the center. So when I place it in there, it's not going to come out the other side. It's going to rest right inside that chamber. So let's see if I can do this on camera. I guess it's going to be something like that. Let me pre-clip this. Done. Just like that. So I have a very, very short lead here, and that's going to be going into the positive side of the post right there. And I can always see how it's sticking out just a little bit. I'm actually going to clip that just a little bit shorter so we don't run into any shorting issues, and so it all fits in there nice. So now I have a much, much shorter little positive lead there. This one goes into the negative, and when I put this one into the positive, perfect. It's just going to go right in that hole. It's not going to poke out the other side, so I can tighten all these down and we can start fiddling with them now. Got all those leads tightened down, and it's not looking amazing, but we're going to pinch and fiddle with it, get it glowing nice and evenly. First thing I'm going to do, obviously, check the resistance, 0.11 ohms, which is great because we're going to be running this on a dual parallel unregulated box mod. But we can start firing these coils now. And you can see the first couple times that I fire them, they're gonna look bad. You're gonna see hot spots all over the place. They're not gonna be glowing evenly, really evenly at all. But that's why we fiddle. And what you'll see in fused Claptons is you'll see the current jumping from one lead to the other. I mean, one coil to the other, right across the niachrome. It's because those niachromes, those are all touching, and the wires on the inside are not. So you'll see the current jump and create these kind of streaks that go across it. Yeah, you can kind of see it happening right there, especially in the middle. The current jumps across. But that's why we have pliers. That's why we have fiddlers, and we'll get this going. We'll get this going beautifully. So we continue to pulse. We continue to pinch, and admittedly these Claptons over here do not look nearly as good. See how they're kind of all the Claptoning on them is a little bit too spaced out, whereas the ones on this side are much nice and tighter. I have a feeling that's from when I wasn't applying enough pressure on that spool, and it was just wrapping the Claptons a little bit too loosely. To the naked eye from a distance, you can't even tell the difference, but when you get up close here or with a macro lens, yeah, you'll definitely be able to tell the difference. But they're glowing, well, they're glowing pretty evenly. Maybe not this one. Maybe not this one over here. Let's do some more pinching. We're going to pinch. We're going to glow. We're going to pinch. If you have ceramic tweezers, you can just pinch it really tight and then glow it. Get it all glowing evenly. You can still kind of see the current jumping a little bit there on the Claptoning on the outside. See, now they're glowing, oh, so much better, so evenly. And the tighter that those Claptons get wrapped on there, the cleaner your glow is going to be. You're not going to have that current jumping. You're going to have nice, tight wires that are going to glow just perfectly. So now that after that, let's check the resistance again. 0.14. So just fiddling with the wires and getting them glowing nice and evenly. We went from a 0.11 to a 0.14, which is perfect. We're still going to use this on a dual parallel unregulated box, but now we're going to wick it. And I'm going to show you just my method here for applying the coils. See how this goes up? So we have plenty of room here to put some wick there. And then this one goes down. So we still have plenty of room over here to put the wick in. You want to leave as much room as you can for your wick, and just look at the difference of those coils. Look how loose these are. Look how loose those Claptons are, and look how tight these are. This is just from applying different amount of pressure when you're building them. These super loose, these are super clean, nice and tight. These not so much, but they're still going to get the job done. They're still going to taste amazing. So we're going to be doing a variation of the Scottish roll technique that we see all over the interwebs and all over YouTube now. What we're going to do is put some cotton in here, roll it up, we're going to stick some cotton through, and we're going to make sure that it's nice and tight in the coils. Nice and tight. So when you pull it through, there's just a lot of resistance. In fact, you can spin it to help that resistance out, but it's going to be snug. We want those in there snug, snug, snug. Now what we're going to do is we're going to leave just enough wick so that we can bend this over and have it just barely touch the bottom of the deck. So I'm just eyeballing it. We're going to cut it there. I'm just eyeballing it. We're going to cut it there, just like that. Then we take our tweezers, grab this, stick it in there. Stick it in there. We just want it in there, just barely touching the bottom of the deck. Same thing over here. We're going to grab it and push it in. Just want that wick in there, just barely touching the bottom of the deck. Wicked, juiced, vapors. It is seriously so easy to do these fused Claptons. It's like a little bit of extra effort. If you've ever wanted to try a fused Clapton or one of these, silly coil builds, they're great and they're super easy. If I'm saying you, if I can do this, you can do this. The performance is great. The flavor is just top notch. 0.14 ohms, dual parallel, unregulated. This is the Soul Reaper from Cult Mods. Great vape. Just fantastic. The flavor is nice. The performance is great. There's very, very little ramp up speed. Once you get used to vaping on these fused Claptons as like your everyday coil, then going back to like a single round wire coil, it's a little bit weird. It feels different. It vapes different. You'll notice a difference. At least I've noticed a difference. So yeah, trust me when I say that if I can do it, you can do it. Just do these simple steps. Go buy some swivels. Go get a clamp. You can kind of do it however you want. Squid Dude used a vise. Twisted Messes used something else. I just stuck with the M-Turk way of doing it with a piece of wood and the swivels screwed down to the wood so you can pull it tight. Your wire just goes on there like a factory machine and you end up with a bunch of Clapton. It's great. It works great. I'm very happy with these coils and it's so easy to do. This is kind of going to be my standard go-to build now for the most part. I still haven't mastered it with like a 3-post atomizer. It's really easy to do on the 4 posts, but with on a 3-post, you end up, it's kind of a different beast altogether with 3-post atomizers. M-Turk did it for me on my tugboat, but I honestly don't know how he did that. It was sorcery. But practice, stick with it. It's so easy. It's so easy. That's what I got for today. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. As always, let's keep on vaping.
That's enough.